for so many years, I felt like I was being punished. And I had lost the opportunity to experience love, to experience partnership, because I cheated on my very first boyfriend. Hey, happy Wednesday, beautiful people. Asian Mac, Bidak. Back at the park today, my happy place, as you guys already know. Talking a lot better in my braces today, smiling a lot more in my braces today. It's a good day. Welcome back rather to It Was Written, a Project, episode 20 today, and the first episode of my new series entitled The Shame Game. And super excited and nervous, as I shared previously, to present this series with you guys. If you have seen already, which I'm sure you have, the title to this particular episode is a lot is about to be shared, all right? And I'm already shaking my head at myself. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? But there are actually so many different reasons why I just felt it was necessary to share these particular stories with you guys. So go ahead, grab your tea, and let's get started. It's going down. Okay, so I had to move really quick. That lady was kind of bothering me behind me. But really quick, I just want to touch on the reason why I felt this series was necessary. So one of the major reasons is because It Was Written, the project itself was designed to be a healing and a freeing process for me. I just felt like it was a great opportunity, while I was embracing or encouraging others to embrace vulnerability, while I was trying to inspire and uplift and empower, I guess that's a strong word, but it was also an opportunity for me to release, and let things go that I haven't really had an opportunity to. A lot of the things that I've been holding on to, especially things I would say dealing with other people, I never got an opportunity to really have the conversation, and there were certain things that I was holding on to, and I was just in a space of needing to move on. There's greater and better things ahead, and in order to do that, there are some things that you just gotta let go. So this is just my opportunity to free myself. There are so many chapters to our stories, obviously, but for me, some of the stories that I share in this series in particular, these are stories I think that have had the most impact on me, or have affected me the most, I guess I would say, in the sense of regret, holding me back, the way that I view relationships, the way that I view myself even, and it's kind of opened up my eyes and shown me ways about myself, parts of myself that I didn't know that I possessed. I didn't know that I could be that way, you know what I mean? And it's just been a lot of back and forth with myself, shame, questioning of my own character, talking to myself often, and just kind of being you are not this person, so why'd you do that? You know what I mean? And it being a real question and leading to true search of self for the answer. So throughout this project, I've shared several different stories, and I don't really know well, I guess I do. I was gonna say I don't know the reaction of people, or the response that people have, but for the most part, the responses that I have received have been positive. None of the responses have been negative. From some stories, I have received empathy, but for the most part, I think that I've gotten more so yo, I can relate, and thanks for sharing that, which is amazing. You know what I mean? But what I haven't received is judgment. And I think that from these particular stories, I may get judged. And I share them anyway. I share them anyway because I still think that they're relatable. I still think that they can uplift, they can inspire, they can be a blessing to some people. If you're here to judge, God bless you. You know, maybe take a look in the mirror. I don't know. Okay? The only thing that I can say for myself is that from these experiences, I have evolved. I've learned, and I've actually made changes. You know what I mean? And I think that that's the most important part, is to not pitch a tent in shame, not pitch a tent in regret, but, you know, you got to keep living. We got to move on, and I'll share also like how I've been able to do that. So without, how do you say that phrase, further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get in this. I haven't said this in a long time. Make sure you haven't said it in so long, I don't know what to say. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Do your thing. Okay, so let's talk about, first off, the title of this episode. I entitled this episode Love Lost because for so many years I felt like I was being punished, and I had lost the opportunity to experience love, to experience partnership, because I cheated on my very first boyfriend. Now some of you may be thinking, yo, you're mad dramatic right now, like we've all cheated on our first person, or maybe not. I shouldn't put that on you guys. That's not fair to put that on you guys. But no, this was so real. This has such an impact on just my life moving forward. For several years, I knew that I was gonna share this story at some point, and I started writing down. It's windy. I started kind of like jotting down notes about like what I actually wanted to share back in December, and one of the things that I wrote was that, I'm sorry, 1 second, this is like giving me a lot. One of the things, let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm not gonna look at it, but for the most part, I said something along the lines of, I don't regret too many things in life. I haven't had too many regrets, but there are two things that I absolutely regret. One being not finishing school, and the other being cheating on this guy. Well, not this guy, because he's not just this guy, he's the homie now, but I don't know if I want to share his name or not. So, but the aftermath of that decision condemned me for years, making me feel like I wasn't deserving. And you know what I believe showed up in my life for sure, because I spent years not even trying. Like, I literally could not date. I couldn't date because of the regret that hovered over me from what I had done. It was like I could never grow from that. I never grew from like that high school stage of like, okay, let me say this. Let me give you like a little bit of a backstory of myself. One thing that I can say for sure is that I am very good at being single. In high school, I never had a boyfriend. I guess I had boyfriends. Not really. Like, I had a couple of guys that like I called my boyfriend, but it was like very short-lived. It's high school, right? But like, people legit have like high school relationships. Like, there was never a guy that I like introduced to my family. To this day, no one in my family can ever say, you know, remember such and such Asia's like high school. What there was no one. There was no one. And I don't know why, but from a very early age, I've been very standoffish about dating. So fast forward to Alabama State, where I have my first dating experience. I meet this guy at the mall. He was working at the Gap and I was working at Sears in the portrait studio, and I was actually talking to this other guy at the time that I met him, an older guy who told me that his name was something other than what it was, Diego. And I thought that his name was Diego for a very long time. I didn't find out his real name until like so many years later, but it's neither here nor there. I was talking to Diego, like fake talking to Diego, to be honest. They want to mow the lawn. Okay, so Diego and I are talking, and I meet, I'm gonna just say his name, Nels. So that's his nickname. We'll call him Nels. I meet him at the mall, and I'm 17. He's 22 at the time, and he's so cool, like so cool, so chill, super sweet guy. But in the beginning, I was very much so like curving him because, you know, I like Diego. Like, Diego was older, he was cute, he was sitting over there looking like Genuine, I'm not gonna lie. So, you know, I was like curving Nels at the time because I didn't really know, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. So I was like, let me try to figure this out. Nels and I, we were in communication, like we would text, I guess, but I wasn't really present. And I remember I went back home for Christmas vacation, still very much like back and forth with who I liked, and I decided, you know, I liked Nels, and I was gonna stop talking to Diego because I don't know, I just felt like he was just, you know, having a good time with me or whatever. And I remember that I actually called him over the vacation Nels, and he was like, yo, I was just telling my friend that I was about to stop, you know, calling this girl because she wasn't checking for me. Oh, I forgot about this though, that he did Nels, like we would text, but like one of the like major things that he did, or like the whatever communication or whatever that we had, was we worked in the same mall. So like he would like take me home from work, he would like bring me back to campus. So that happened. So, but I remember specifically that after like the Christmas vacation, Diego actually had taken me to the airport to go home for Christmas vacation, and then Nels picked me up like back in Montgomery. And that's just kind of like where it, like we were hanging out every day like since that time. And that's kind of like how our relationship or friendship began, was, you know, after I made that decision from Christmas break. This guy is getting on my nerves. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the park and find somewhere to go because this guy mowing the lawn, you see him back there? I don't know if you can, he getting on my last. I mean, I know you're doing your job, but give me a break. Okay, so I think that I'm just gonna stay in the car. Of course he moved as soon as I left that area, so I don't feel like driving anywhere, and I also don't feel like walking back over there, so this is gonna have to do. Let's get back to the story. So Nels and we're hanging out tough at this time, and the main thing that I remember about him during that time was that he was just such a gentleman. Even at 22, he was like always opening up my car door, just super respectful, super attentive. Like literally it was like, say hello to the nice guy. He was the nice guy. And when he and I started hanging out, that was my very first time like actually like going out on a date, like going out to eat and stuff like that. So it was just a different experience, and I was so shy. I remember I would like always like give him dap after we went out, like pound him up, mad awkward. But we continued to hang out for, I don't even know, like not that long before he asked me to be his girlfriend. I remember that we met in September of 2004. At some point he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I wasn't ready and I told him that I would let him know like when I was ready. And in May of 2005 I asked him if he was still interested in being my boyfriend, and that's how like we became official. We were young and it was great, and it was like no cares, I'm not gonna lie. It was like we had no worries, and even though we were so young, it to this day, like, that relationship does not feel to me like puppy love. It felt like it was real. It was real, like, and nobody can tell me that it wasn't real. But things shifted when I decided to move back home. Like, school was, it was a wrap for school, and I moved back home, and he actually moved to Detroit with me. With that move is when the cares started. Like, we had stuff to worry about, you know, once we made that move. Like, it was just definitely like a completely different shift being in Montgomery. It was a bad move. The shift was a lot. Like, the transition was a lot, you know. Like, he had a bit of an issue with the transferring of his job, so he wasn't like working right away. And then I had to, like, I wasn't in school anymore, so I had to get a for real job and pay rent, which I wasn't doing before. He was already paying rent, but he wasn't working, if I remember correctly. It was just a shift immediately. It was just like, we're not in Kansas anymore. That's what it felt like. But he was always the same person. Like, he never changed. But you could tell that, like, that the transition wasn't easy. You know what I mean? At the time that we moved to Detroit, I was about to say New York, Detroit, that must have been 2006. Yeah, so we moved to New York. We moved to Detroit in 2006, because we had been there for a year before we had broken up. We had definitely been there a year, and I think it must have been maybe like the halfway year mark that I just started to feel like I was missing out on something. Like, we had been together for almost 3 years at that time. Life was different. Life was just different. And I don't even know. I can't even say. It's just like, I was 20 years old at that time, and I guess I started to feel like, what's next at this point? Like, the only thing that we can do from here was get married. And I don't know how I felt about being married at 20 years old. I definitely just felt like, I'm sorry, my battery's about to die. I was missing out on something, unfortunately. So there was a girl that I grew up with. She lived right around the corner from my grandmother, and we would hang out from time to time. And there was this guy who was her brother's friend that I met over there, and a whole mess, a complete scandal. No, but it was bad. I cannot even believe that, like, that situation spiraled into what it did. I can't believe that my heart was as cold as it was, you know, like, looking back, which is so crazy to me, because literally nothing even happened. Like, between Nels and I, besides the fact that I just started feeling the way that I did, like I was missing out on something, which is sad, you know. Just that he deserved none of what I put him through. Like, legit, not a single thing. He was perfect. Like, if you knew him back then, and I'm sure that he's, I don't know. I can't say I'm sure. I don't know. I don't know if he's, like, still the same kind of like the nice guy like that now. I'm sure that situation did something to him. But he was like the perfect gentleman, the perfect guy. And I really just cannot believe I even got myself in that situation. But needless to say, he found out, and he had already had, like, some suspicion, you know, because I must have just been acting differently, like just doing, I can't even say honestly, I just must have been acting differently. Like I raised some sort of suspicion. He came up to my job. We had a roommate. I forgot about that. We had a roommate, and the roommate knew about this other guy. And I remember I was working at a bank. She texted me something about him. Oh, Nels just asked me something, and I'm reading her text, and he's walking into the door. Jesus. It was so bad. It was bad. It was sad. It was hurtful. He was so hurt. We went outside. We were in the parking lot of the bank, I remember, and he was just, he wasn't really even like going off. He wasn't going off on me in a sense of like cursing it. Like he just couldn't believe it. It was more so of like a, who is this guy and how could you? And it was really bad. It was really bad. And I don't even, to be honest, like I don't really even know what happened after that. We went back and forth for a little while, and we actually, I think, tried to like work it out. Like we tried to work it out, and it just didn't happen. I think that I just I don't think I put forth enough action to show that I wanted this. But yeah, I do remember that we were still like, living together, and I don't know for how long we were still together, or he was still there. But it was definitely a point where he had found out, and we were like trying to see if it could be a thing. But hey guys, so I'm back at home, obviously, but I wanted to mention one thing that I forgot to mention. I'm just gonna squeeze it in really quick. I don't know how I forgot to mention this, because this is so distinct in my mind. After he found out, like right after he found out, it was a day that I had came back home to the apartment, and he was drinking. He was like drinking Hennessy or something, and I had never seen him drink ever prior to this day. The entire time that we were together, I was under 21, so I had never had a drink the whole time that we were together. And every time we went out or did anything, like he never had a drink. So I don't know if he drank with his friends or anything like that, but I had personally never seen him drink to that day. Eventually he left, and he left the day before my 21st birthday. I'll never forget. Like he had ate some cereal, like our roommate's cereal, he ate like the remaining of her cereal or something, and he like bought her a new box of cereal, and he left me a birthday card. And I remember like he signed it like his full name, and it hurt. I don't know why it would hurt me, like I'm the one, but like he signed like his like signature on the birthday card. And he had gotten a card for me during the time that we was there, and his best friend, I don't even know when all of this happened. I don't know where I was at, but his best friend came, and his best friend must have flew down and drove my car back. I believe that's what happened. And yeah, after that, I kid you not, and that's how I know like it was never about like this guy. I was just having a hard time in that space of whatever I was going through. I never saw or spoke to that guy again. To this day, I've never seen him since 2007 or whatever. And also, just to backtrack just a little bit, one thing that I'm really big on today, at 33, communication. Communication is such a big thing. Such is probably like one of the biggest things for me. And I never communicated with him. I never communicated how I felt. I never communicated any of the ways that I was feeling. I just acted. I just wanted to say that. Yeah. And I say that just looking at certain things of like recent, you know what I mean, like how I don't know, just how big I am on something that I like never was, you know what I mean, or that I wasn't before. But I guess that's life. I don't know. Anywho, after that breakup, let me see if I can get some sun. I guess not. Oh, maybe. Okay, I'll do it over here. No, whatever. After our breakup, I definitely had like a miniature like hot girl stunt that I pulled to cope with everything. But after that little stunt, life got like so hard for me, and I fell into depression, and not quite due to that fully, but like something else, like another just like life-altering thing happened for me, and I actually haven't decided yet if that is a story that I'm gonna share during this series, but it's one that it was on a list, but it was one of the ones that I was like kind of up in the air about. So right after that, you know, life was just bad for, I don't know, a couple of years for me, maybe 2 years or something like that. But when I actually like got back to myself, I think that's when I realized the what's the word I'm looking for, the stunt, I guess, that I had with dating, and I couldn't date, and I didn't think that I was deserving. And yeah, actually I take that back. I wouldn't say that, well, I guess I was gonna say that I wouldn't say that's when I realized I couldn't date. That's when I started being very just reluctant to date, and dating became like taboo. And yeah, I became solo Mac. That's what I call myself, solo Mac. And yeah, you know, I just knew how to operate and maneuver being single so well. I didn't realize how much it has done me. I didn't realize the detriment, you know, that it caused, not putting myself out there, not dating and stuff like that, until I got into a relationship in recent years, and I literally had no idea what I was doing. Like, I just didn't know how to operate. I didn't know how to function in a relationship because I was so used to being by myself for so long. You know, I hadn't been in a relationship since I was 20, or 21 rather, and I was over 30 when I got into this other relationship. But that's a whole nother, you know, that a whole nother. It's so crazy though how those two things tie together, like 10 years apart. And I guess that is a story that I'll end up sharing another day. But as of right now, I think that I've said enough for today. This is definitely going to be at least a 2-part episode, but I'm gonna end this episode right here. Definitely hope to see you guys next week though. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Typically I would say if you know someone it could be a blessing to, share it, but I don't really know how this could be a blessing to anyone. Come back next week though. Next week should be a blessing for you. Still share the video though. Everybody come back next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out.